Hey everyone, today we're going to go over how to use the quantity location maintenance screen in the service program. So this screen is going to be important if you need to keep track of your rental inventory for assets that you do not have serial numbers for. So maybe you rent tools or fencing panels or some sort of moving bins. We're going to go over how to do that in the service program today. The first thing that we need to do, though, is turn this feature on. So in order to do that, we're going to head to MISC Info along the top toolbar. Then we'll navigate down to System on the submenu and then Control Table Maintenance. Once our Control Table opens up, we want to head to the Rentals tab. Once we click on that Rentals tab, we're going to be given a bunch of options here, but the one that we're focused on, this one right down here that says Show Inventory Location, Show INV Location. We want to make sure that that is set to yes. And while you're on this screen, it might be a good idea to also set this setting down here, Add Lines to Tasks, to yes as well. That way when you create a delivery or a pickup task, the line items from the rental transaction automatically populate on that task. That way, once the task is completed, you can invoice it and bill the customer for whatever it is that they were renting from you. That's going to be very important if you're a roll-off company. So we have those two options set to yes. We can now go ahead and click Close. And we need to head to the rental inventory list. So we'll click Rental Info. And then we'll head down to Rental Inventory List. On the submenu, that will open up this screen. And as you can see, my rental inventory list is already populated here with some portable toilets. And each portable toilet has its own serial number, unique serial number tied to it. With that being said, though, I have some other assets that I rent out that don't have serial numbers. Assets that I rent in bulk. So I don't need to particularly know which unique, wrench, for example, is being rented to. I just need to know how many I have available versus how many I have on rent. So in order to manage that, we need to click on this Quantity Location Maintenance button right along the top of the rental inventory list. That's going to open up this screen, and then from here we can use this first drop-down to select our asset. So we'll go ahead and select wrench. Now the system will load the default description from QuickBooks. When I set up this item, I did not input a description, which is why we're not seeing anything here. I could also type one in. It's not required. A location is required. So think of the location field as the warehouse field. If you have multiple warehouses, multiple yards, multiple lots that contain this asset, we need to identify which location this asset resides. Now, even if you just have one location in general where all of your assets are, we still need to specify that. So I'm going to go ahead and just type in Yard A. Once I type that in, it's going to say this warehouse is not in the list. Would you like to add it now? We'll go ahead and select yes. And at this time, if there's additional locations, all you have to do is double click in this field. That will open up our item location maintenance screen. From there, you could go ahead and type in Yard B, Yard C, and so forth. So we'll go ahead and click close on that screen. The last step here is to input a quantity. So maybe I have 1,000 wrenches that I rent out. This quantity should be what you own in total. So if you guys are coming from another system and you already have, let's say you're inputting a wrench here on your rental item location quantity list. You want to put how many wrenches you guys as a company own. So if you have 1,000, you want to put in 1,000. You don't want to put on what's available at that warehouse. We'll talk about how to look at that in a moment here. So if you are new to this system or you're coming to this system and you know that, hey, we have 1,000 wrenches, but 500 are on rent, you don't want to put 500 here as your quantity. You still want to put 1,000. So at this point, I can just go ahead and simply click close. And now we want to see how this all comes together. So we need to create a rental transaction. So I'll select rental info and then click this top option here that says enter a new rental. Now, in another video, I talk about how to properly create a rental transaction, and that's something that you can absolutely refer to. But for now, in this video, I want to go through this pretty quickly. So I'm going to simply select a customer, select that item, wrench. We also then want to select our warehouse, Yard A. And we also want to input a quantity. Maybe we're renting, or maybe this customer is renting 250 of those wrenches. And if you watch the other video on rental transaction creation, you should be aware that the default pricing from QuickBooks will load. That can always be adjusted here. Go ahead and input $2. But what's nice is, now that I've input that quantity 250, if I double click that quantity, I can see how many we have, how many are on rent. Right now, 250 are on rent, which means I have 750 available. If I had multiple yards that contain this item, we would see those as well. So we'd see yard B, the quantity of wrenches that I have at yard B. Then I can determine, or I can look at which yard has more available, and then if I click the select button next to that yard, it will then grab that warehouse on the rental transaction. So that is how we can track inventory for items that don't have serial numbers. You can also click close on this screen and back on our rental inventory list. Real quick, I just want to point out there is what we call an item snapshot. So maybe before you're creating the rental transaction, you need to know what you have available. Well, you can absolutely click the item snapshot button. From here, you could put in your date range. So maybe you want to take a look at what's going to be available over a certain period of time. And from there, you can select the item. So we'll select wrench, and we'll click this check availability button. And as you can see, we have 1,000 wrenches, but 250 are on rent right now, so 750 are available. All right, and that concludes today's video.